everyone. Welcome to Coffee Break. It's Steve Barrett here, the editorial director, PR Week. And guess what? We're back in the office after 18 months of Coffee Break in my living room. We're back in the office and we've got a super special guest to celebrate. It's Tola St. Matthew Daniel from Freuds US, in an EVP over there. Tola, welcome back to welcome to Coffee Break. And it's great to have you on the first show back in the office with us.
Steve, great to be on, and congratulations. I love the energy of just being back live. It's such a privilege, and yeah, great to be with you.
I can't compete with your backdrop. That is super solid.
I mean, I've had 18 months to perfect this. I'm actually from my home office today, so.
You've done well. You've done well. So tell us a bit about Freuds and their operations in the US. For those who don't know so much about the agency, obviously a super famous name and very creative agency. I've been to the office in London, and it's like walking into an ad agency, isn't it? That really is the vibe. So tell us a bit about what you're doing over here.
Yeah, I've heard it being referred to as a museum. But yeah, I mean, look, I think in one sentence, I would say Freuds is an agency on a mission, right? You mentioned we're headquartered in London. We have a presence in globally now, especially with the pandemic, but we also have our office here in New York. We're a full service strategic comms firm, 35 years and counting, delivering global campaigns for businesses and NGOs and destinations, causes, influencers, you name it. But I think what really is our differentiator is that we're just impassioned champions for the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to the point that we baked it in our logo about 2 years ago. And so from, tackling climate change or advancing education, fighting for equality of all kinds, we really try to center in the kinds of work that we do for our clients and really the kinds of work we do for ourselves. So I think that's Freuds in a nutshell. And as for our US operations, we're really just an extension of that.
And you've got other sort of sub-brands which do different things. Maybe you can just talk us through them. And we'll remember you from when you bought Brew Media Relations back in 2016. So tell us a bit about how that's developed and the other sort of elements to the offer.
For sure. The brew piece was definitely way before my time. But we have had a presence here, like you said, for a good number of years, I think for over a decade at least. I joined about 3 years ago. And at that time, I think we really made a concerted effort to grow out our Freuds offering here. And so, as part of the Brewing network, I think overall we're about a team of 250 consultants. And so that cuts across our production team, our branding team, experiential, et cetera. And so here in New York, it's like really a Freuds mission, but we also have our finance agency 193, Atomize, our production company, Social Media Misfits, who do social. And so we really bring a broad range of, experts and specialties to the table for our clients. I think through a really unifying through point, which is we want to do work that we love, and we want to love what we do. And that for us has to be baked in purpose, right? And having meaning and impact in everything that we do.
Now, this is airing during the UN General Assembly week, which is usually one of the busiest weeks of the year in New York. Obviously, it's not going to be quite as busy as usual, but you've got your Goals House brand, which really links into what you were saying about the Sustainable Development Goals. So tell us about Goals House, what it is, and what you're doing for the UNGA week.
Absolutely, would love to do that. So I think that's why I was getting excited when you were talking about being back in the office, because I think it's such a privilege to finally be able to see people face to face and maybe not shake hands, but just talk to them, engage, look them in the eye in a real way.
Elbow bump.
I know, elbow bump, right? Or that nod, that little acknowledgement. But Goals House, I'll give you a little bit of history so you really get how it came about. So about 13 years ago, we would go to Davos with one of our biggest clients at that time, and the official agenda, it's so structured, but they would come with their whole slew of senior executives, and the brief to us was we want to connect with people about development issues and really big impact moves. Help us do that, help connect our senior people to that. And so we would just do that ad hoc. And then one year, someone had a brilliant idea, probably Matthew, or had probably a partner in London who you might know who's an absolute genius. And they thought, why don't we just rent a little patisserie on that main street and brand it for the client. And so we did. We created a branded experience, called it a cafe. And over the years, well, that first year, it was just so well received. Like people were flocking to that because they were just so excited to have something to do outside the agenda. And it certainly looked and felt like Freuds, like you talked about. So definitely not business as usual. But what we found was that it was, much more than a talk shop. Like people were coming there, connecting and forming partnerships, making deals, and advancing development issues. So over the years that evolved, and because of the work that we were doing, supporting the narrative around the global goals and helping, Project Everyone and really giving the communications gear, it really made sense to take the conversation or that little cafe that could and open it up and bring more people in. And so that became Dava's House. And then we realized, hey, we can take this and should take this show on the road to Cannes, to Onga, like we talked about, to COP later on this year. And then it became the Goals House. And so what we do—
Way ahead of your time there, weren't you? Because now everybody does that. You see the Female Quotient, you see the Davos down that street, everyone's doing that thing. So that was really ahead of its time.
Yeah, I think we hit upon an insight, right? That it was one thing to curate the conversations and the connections. And we did that well because we knew what our clients needed and what they were looking for. But because of, our comms role, we also had an ear on a finger on the pulse of what the issues were externally, right? And so, playing that matchmaker role was really powerful for us. And the concept of Goals House is more than just an event. And I'd love to talk about this a little bit later about, the products that we're creating to really extend the platform. But the pandemic, even, the pandemic at first was like, oh crap, we can't do events, right? Everybody was kind of shocked how you move on and keep it going. But, we found it was much more than that. So we've been able to do hybrid. We've been able to do one-off events. For example, at the G7, we just had one day of Goals House. And so, there's many ways we're found that our Goals House platform can come to life. So excited about that.
Yeah. Well, tell us what's going on this week, as it will be when this is broadcast, around the UNGA. And I know you've got some events and we will be seeing you face to face. So that's good.
Yeah, extremely excited about that. So we have about 30 plus events this year, which is manic, and but we're really excited about that. They're taking place in-person live format, but also hybrid. We even have a couple events in London on one of the days. So the full schedule is on goalshouse.com, and you can see that. But we have some really big global goals hitters like Matt Damon, who's going to be there with Bank of America, and his role as the co-founder of Water.org. Jane Goodall will be with us, the president of the African Development Bank. Dr. Adeshina will be there, the First Lady of Namibia, Her Excellency Monica Gagos. Brands like Reckitt and ABI, McKinsey, Bayer, MasterCard, Abu Dhabi. So just a lot of conversations that intersect across the whole 17 development goals. And so we would love to welcome everyone. So definitely check out the schedule on goalshouse.com. And if you can't come, certainly tune in because we'll be showcasing most of the events virtually as well.
And just from a practical point of view, tell us what goes into running a physical event at the moment. Clearly, it's not business as usual just yet, is it? So what have you had to do to make everyone feel safe and put protocols in place?
This year, for the event at Onga this week, we are partnering again with Soho House. And we are strictly following all the CDC and New York City protocols because, like you said, safety is such a big concern. And it is such a privilege to be able to do this, given how unequal, I think, the coming out of lockdown and how the whole COVID recovery process has been around the globe. So we're very cognizant about that. And so that's really like the first lens is like, how can we do this safely and how can we do it effectively? The other thing is making sure that we weren't losing the good things that came out of the pandemic for us in terms of getting the word out there about the goals and being able to pull more people into this conversation, like you and I were talking about a little bit earlier. So for us, it's like, how do we have a really good hybrid version and how do we have a really good in-person version? So we're really leaning more into the curated conversations, intimate gathering. We're not going to have any mass big Freuds, exciting parties like you would think in the past. We're going to have, the really good tete-a-tetes, the round tables. We're doing a mix of, one-on-one conversations or head-to-heads or firesides. And then, the sort of panel format that we would have at events like these.
No parties. That's sad. But
I mean, there's some receptions. We can. I mean, some are super exclusive too, but I can give you the lowdown.
Yeah. I was watching the Met Gala this week, and that looked pretty incredible, didn't it? With just some of the fashion.
I don't know how they pulled that off, but I was watching it in awe. But it did make me feel really happy. So just the live event, there's no substitute for that. There's a reason we like to see each other anyway. But we are not doing a Met Gala. It'll be much smaller, but and way more controlled because again, like I said, we realize just being together in person is a privilege, and we want to make sure that we keep it safe for everybody and everyone feels comfortable.
Well, I was very happy to be at the US Open on Saturday for our girl Emma Raducanu to win the title. So that was fantastic, but with 20,000 people in a stadium, so that was like back to things are slowly coming back. So
they are.
Are you guys going back to the office? How's that working at Freuds over here? You're based actually quite near us. So how are you doing that? And how's the last 18 months been as a PR professional, working remotely in the main?
Oh, wow. I mean, as a PR professional that is not only living in the moment herself as a human being, but also being there, right, as guardians of our clients' reputation and of their stories, it's certainly not been boring, but it's been very challenging. But at the same time, depending on, the issues we've had to speak up to, starting with the pandemic itself to obviously the issues of social and racial injustice that really came to head last year, it has been such a rewarding and I think a fulfilling opportunity for us as an agency to say, okay, look, we know things have broken down, but I think now more than ever, given the state of the world we're in, it was such an incredible opportunity for us to say, look, hey guys, you want a better reputation, then great, be better. And we're telling our clients that because for us, it's not just about the right thing to do. It's because we think it's good for their business and it's good for us and everything. So that has been really our we've tried to just keep our purpose front of mind, to keep ourselves sane and keep ourselves really focused, inspired through the worst of it. But to your question about how things are in I guess this phase of the pandemic, I think in New York we are just kind of going with the flow as to where most of the competitors, or I should say our peers, are doing. It's like not taking any hard or fast rules, but really keeping safety and well-being of our staff as paramount, as priority. We'll take it day by day and see how things go. The offices have always been open, after lockdown have always been open. We'll slowly evolve with everything else that's going on. We're not taking any hard or fast predictions, but their office obviously has a central role to play in our business, but we'll all see how that shapes out.
Yeah, look, I should say our office is voluntary, totally voluntary at the moment. We've got these little wristbands. You can see my blue one. There's a red one if you're like, please don't come near me. There's a white one if you're kind of neutral and you'll do the elbow bump. And I'm the blue one, which is, let's shake hands.
I'm definitely red. I'm like, no, leave me alone.
And we have these little things where you can open doors without touching them, and all that good stuff. And obviously we get temperatures checks and what have you. So just to finish off, how do you see next year, if you're taking this on the road again, we're going to be in person at Davos or Cannes or South by or let's not jump till next year. I mean, COP is on the agenda, right? That's coming up. House will be at COP in a big way. And again, obviously, in Scotland.
Yeah, in Glasgow. Yeah, we'll be there, and we'll have a hopefully really big setup, and it'll be that first big in-person event I think that we've had in a really long time on a global goals, SDG kind of perspective. But I think what's really exciting for us is beyond just the event. It's how we can make this more meaningful for our clients on an everyday basis. And so what we've been working on over the last few years is really looking across the purpose spectrum, from company purpose to brand purpose to platform purpose, and just seeing wherever you are, wherever a company is on these different manifestations, how can we make the SDGs a meeting point for them? Because it would matter not just to the company, but to the employees, the consumers, their stakeholders. And so we have this process that we've designed to help brands go ahead and unearth that purpose within their organizations. So discovering the SDGs, defining their opportunity in them, developing different activation plans. I give you just a quick example because I know we've been talking for a while now. A few weeks ago, we did a Global Goals boot camp in a virtual format for one of our clients and like thousands of their employees. So it certainly had to be virtual. And we had like 3 really specific ambitions going into that, introducing the entire organization to the SDGs. We talk about it all the time and we have it in our logo. That doesn't mean everyone knows what it is. So it's really level setting and getting that base level understanding. And then we also wanted to let them know, like, hey, your company is already doing this. And here are what your brand's already doing to advance the SDGs. And then I think the third part of that, which is really important, is having them see or connect to the SDGs on a very personal level. So how their roles within the business contribute to the company's overall SDG and purpose agenda, but how they can do stuff even outside of work, like as human beings, as people, because every single one of us really have to be part of that process. And so we brought in some of those global goals hitters, like I mentioned, like Matt Damon, for example, joined in, and Project Everyone, Richard Curtis came in as well. But we also had different workshops, et cetera. So we're going to be focusing a lot on that because it's not just about the big moments. It's an everyday mission. And so I'm very, very excited about building that out here. And I just have to give an incredible shout out to the Global Goals team, all the folks in London that can't come to New York because we haven't opened our borders yet. So Alex Valens, who's a director in London, who's come in over the last year or so, and one of our partners, Hannah, has been out on mat leave, and Harriet Newton, Sophie, Jake Evans. I'm going to get in trouble by starting naming names, so I'll stop here. But it's such an incredible team.
In trouble for going over my 15 minutes. The coffee's gone cold, so good luck with Good luck with Goals House and the UNGA week, and I look forward to seeing you in person very soon at one of these.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Tola.
No problem. Thanks, Steve.